Welcome to the Root of Our Health podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth, a corporate burnout in the fashion world turned board certified health and wellness coach, functional medicine certified health coach, speaker, and an all-around health nut. This podcast was created to educate and inspire you to live a healthy life mentally, physically, and emotionally by using alternative methods for prevention and healing. With a combination of solo episodes along with highly trustworthy professional guests, we get to the root cause of health-related issues to arm you with knowledge and tips for your well-being so you can live a life full of vitality no matter your age. Are you ready? Here we go. Welcome, Njideka, to the show. It is such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for taking your time on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, definitely want to start off right away to, for you to tell my audience and, of course, me, your story and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, let me see if I can condense that in a little short version. Well, initially, it started off when I was a child. I grew up with home remedies and natural healing practices. And back then, doctors would come to your home for home visits. And as a child, I said, oh, wow, this is something I want to do when I grow up. And to me, I saw them as being healers. So when I got to school, I got a rude awakening that the medical field was not what I wanted to do because it wasn't doing it the way I thought healers were to operate. So I wound up changing my career and became a social worker. And as a social worker, I worked the whole gambit, everything in social services, from infants to seniors, and every social service problem that anyone could have. I worked in that field. But one of the things that concerned me the most was that everybody was going to the emergency room for their doctor. And I said, something is wrong with this. And that kind of sparked up the energy again to say, oh, I still want to be a doctor. And so that was around the time when alternative therapies were opening up, and I went back to school and got training to become a naturopathic healthcare practitioner. And starting off my practitioner, I wanted to add a service, and that service became reflexology. And from there, it evolved into teaching, and then from private practice to teaching, and then from teaching, it moved into research. And the research piece is what moved me into what I'm doing today in terms of focusing on how to relieve pain first before treatment, using the healing power of touch, with reflexology as being the therapy.
Beautiful, beautiful. Question really quick before, because I have also I want to get an understanding of what reflexology is, but how long ago did you go get your doctorate in, what you're doing? How long ago was that?
Oh, well, let me see. We're talking about over 40 something years. I've been involved in this whole field, from initial training in reflexology to training to become a naturopath, because I started out initially with training in reflexology first. Okay. Then I went into naturopathic therapy after that. And that's kind of the path that I've stayed on ever since in my healthcare career.
Got it. Reason why I'm asking that is because a lot of times naturopath and alternative therapies are not looked upon as actual remedies, right? So nowadays it's getting more aware. People are more aware of it. People are wanting more of that. That's why I obviously had this podcast as alternative. But I want to understand, how was it for you to either start up a practice or get into this field when it wasn't so widely known?
Oh, wow. That's an excellent question. I guess I would say that I have been walking the path of a trailblazer. I've been paving the pathway. When I first was introduced to reflexology, nobody knew anything about it, never heard of it, and I just got out there and decided to do it. But to kind of back up, to kind of make it clear in terms of how it all evolved. When I first started my practice with reflexology first, I started with senior citizens. That's how I built my practice, working with senior citizens. And if you know anything about seniors, when you work with seniors, you have to be direct, to the point, and very specific and clear about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and when you're doing it. So that was a whole training experience for me, just working with them. And from there, they liked the reflexology, but then they came back and said, well, can you take care of my feet and hands? Which meant that they wanted manicures and pedicures. I knew nothing about that. So that put me into a whole nother industry, because my industry was health. And so at the time, there was a school in California that was coming to the East Coast. They were in New York doing a training program for reflexology in the beauty industry. So I said, well, let me go up there and do the program and see how they're integrating the two. And when I got there, they said, because I'm based in Washington, D.C., they said, we'll come down to D.C. and do a class if you put it together. Had never done anything like that before in my life. Called all of my little colleagues together and put this class together, and they came and did it. And as a result of there, that's what started my teaching career, because I became the East and Southeast instructor in the United States teaching reflexology in the beauty industry. And then while doing that, healthcare practitioners were coming to me asking me, well, how do we incorporate in our field? So that led me to create a program to teach healthcare practitioners how to do reflexology. So that all kind of evolved, starting with me working with senior citizens who really kind of laid the foundation for me in my healthcare practice, in me introducing reflexology, because from them it came their families and their families and their connections, and that's how it really got started. So it's about paving pathways, and I'm doing it again now from the standpoint of me spending time doing the research on reflexology, connecting it specifically with pain first. And to explain what that is, when a person goes to a doctor, the first thing they want is they're going because they're experiencing pain and they're looking for relief. And I always say to healthcare practitioners, one of the things that we often forget is that we are a business, but we are a business that provides a service. So when a person goes to the store and they want something, they know exactly what they want and they're going to buy that. When they come to their doctor, they're knowing what they want, and what they want is pain relief. And one of the things that I find missing in allopathic medicine, which is excellent, it's top of the line for diagnosis. You can't beat it, bar none. But the one thing that they don't do, which is the first form of touch, and that's called listening. When clients come to me, the first thing I do is I spend time listening. I let them talk to me all about their pain and what's going on with it, how they're feeling it. And one of the key things that I'm listening for is, what was the stress factor that contributed to you being in pain right now? Because oftentimes we don't connect pain and stress. They go hand in hand, one with each other. So that's like, kind of like, overview of paving the way to do what I'm doing now as it relates to alternative approaches to healthcare.
Amazing. Yeah, you never know what your path is going to lead, right? So it's just that one step and then another step, another step. It comes all into fruition. And you are just like, wow, didn't realize that seniors can really pave the path for everything.
Exactly.
But and you're right on the money. They will definitely be like very skeptical especially again, when you're doing something newer. They'll be skeptical. So you literally have to be like, okay, I'm doing this. This is going to help. This is going to, all of it. It's an amazing story. I love it. And um, it just goes to show that yes, what you also at the end of what you were talking about, the root cause. All right, what is the root cause of this pain? It's not just come out of nowhere. Oh my goodness, now I'm in pain. There's something in our body that's experiencing, like you said, that stressor. People think of stress as one thing, right? They think of stress as being external stress or, things that it's just one thing. But stress in itself, it could be good, could be, chronic, could be something that brings up pain. So the stress in itself has many different layers. And it's amazing that you can jump on one part of the layer in terms of, okay, what is the stressor that is causing that pain and honing in on that?
See, one of the problems as it relates to strain, to stress and pain is this. Pain does not happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process. We'll feel pain. Oh, it's not that bad. I can bear with it. Then pain is going to intensify. Oh, that's a little bit more uncomfortable, but I'll bear it. I'll deal with it. Then it gets to the point where it gets to a real chronic, unbearable stage. The body all along has been sending messages to you. And so what the body is now saying, you didn't listen when I first gave the first message. You didn't listen to the second message. So now I've got to put you down so that the body can now get in the motion of healing itself. Because what we don't understand about stress, yes, stress is external, but it's something that's happening outside of your body that you bring inside and start internalizing. And when you internalize it, what happens is it starts going to areas of your body that may be weak, trying to come out, which is not the formal means of elimination. So what happens, message goes to the brain, we got trauma, we got stress in this area and that area, and we got to try to defend it. But all along, if you were able to recognize the fact that I'm feeling stress, I can't let this I can't become overwhelmed from this. I need to do something about the stress before the stress does something to me. And we've got to start paying attention to that. And the way we do that is by understanding and connecting with our bodies. That seems to be a big problem. I always share with my clients the example of the automobile. The automobile is designed just like our bodies. It's a carbon copy of our bodies. The operation is exactly the same. When you purchase an automobile, the salesperson will give you all the things you need to do to maintain it. And when it says, this is the amount of time that you need to do before you take your car for maintenance, the same thing applies to the body. The reason that we're in the problem now is because back in the day, this is a word that you don't hear a lot of now, called prevention. There used to be a thing called preventive health care. All that was nothing but maintenance. It was about maintaining your body in its optimum state. We've gotten away from that, and now we see the results of not having body maintenance. It's crucial. And not only that, let me throw another little point in there. We need to have mental health maintenance. The mind needs maintenance as well as the physical body needs maintenance. The two go hand in hand because they operate as one, working collectively and cooperatively together.
Right on. Yes, our body is made to heal itself, body and mind. We just forgotten that. And then those that say, oh, I have a high threshold of pain. I have a high threshold of pain. I don't think that's something that you really want to
No, you don't.
admit. You don't want to
No,
even
you
have
don't.
that. You
No, you
want
don't.
this. You don't even, and I correlate this to like a toothache, right? When you get a toothache, that you're past the point of it's basically, again, your body screaming, and we don't understand. Again, it's not directly related what you do, but in general, our body is a system. So if something is happening in your tooth, it could be like something elsewhere. And actually, I think this is a good segue, because can you explain what reflexology is? Because I don't know if my listeners know 100%.
Very good question. Reflexology is the art and science of working specific reflex nerve ending points inside your body that's found in your hands, your feet, and your ears. And if you ever look at a chart of the anatomy and look at the nervous system, you see how all of your nerve endings begin in your head and have ending points in your hands, feet, and ears. And what a reflexologist does, we reflex the nerve ending to that particular organ or system inside the body that's experiencing pain. But to kind of give a real better understanding of it, think of electricity. In your house, if the power goes out, you go flip what's called the circuit breaker and electricity will come back on. If you flick the circuit breaker and the electricity doesn't come back on, you have to call an electrician. And then they will see that, okay, there's a wire shortage or something and we got to fix the wires. Think of a reflexologist as the body's electricianist. What we do is work with those nerve endings to get the communication flowing through the nerve endings to the body's command center, the brain. That's what we do. So when we're working on the hands and on the feet and on the ears, reflexing the nerve ending in that particular area of the body that you are experiencing pain, what we're doing is opening up the channels so that the body can now relieve any kind of stress, pain, or toxins, improve circulation, and reduce the pain that is happening inside the body. So those are the areas that we're working on. But keep in mind that the area that you are feeling the pain is not the area that's causing the pain. Right. So when we do reflexology, we work the whole body from head to toe, focusing specifically on finding the area that is in pain right now and finding the area that is causing the pain and opening up those channels. Now, when we connect, when I say relieving pain first before treatment using reflexology, that's what we're doing. We're your first line of defense by relieving pain. Then we integrate with other alternative modalities related to why you're in pain. Because it could be the area that you're in pain may need it may be associated with the muscles, so now we may need to look at massage. If it's something that may be spinal connection, we may need to look at chiropractic care. It may be something that's focused specifically on the nerves. You may look at acupuncture. It may be diet. You may need to look at nutrition, these kinds of, so it's a whole conglomerate of things. It may also be a mental or emotional. We may need to look at yoga. We may need to look at all kinds of things that can bring in relaxation. But the key that I want your listeners to understand about the body is that the body cannot heal itself, no matter what treatment, no matter what therapy you're using, until it gets in a state of rest and relaxation. Then it's open to receiving what it can to assist it in the healing process, because the body is designed to heal itself.
Thank you for the extensive, clarification and description of reflexology. Yeah, it's again going back to the body healing itself. But when you mentioned state of rest, right? So in the parasympathetic state is where you want to be. A lot of us, and this is again correlated with the stress. So a lot of
Yes.
us with stress are in the sympathetic or the fight or flight.
Yes.
And our body, when we're in fight or flight, tenses up, right? We're in this, and our body, again, it's so interesting and fascinating how our body has its own mind, so to speak. Like when
Exactly.
it's like it takes over. We have certain abilities when we want to flee. A lot of the blood goes down to the legs, right? Because we want to flee. We want to fight. We're in a different mindset. It's shutting down the hypothalamus, and it's we're not in the thinking state. So we're not. It's just more or less do and go, and that is it. We're chronically like that, right?
Yes.
So to your point, in order for us to reverse that, and we always think that we need, again, a band-aid to make things better because we don't know any better. And I'm saying we as a collective whole.
Sure.
Yes, but when we're in that state, and that yoga could help, the the meditation and just kind of just stepping back and breathing.
Yes.
Then yes, our body is going to be like, okay. So anything that comes, the touch, all of that has, because it's our body is open, like you said, our mind is open. So what we do is we're not putting more in it. We're just massaging. We're just making sure the body has that movement, aligning, all of that.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's amazing. And this is why I love, alternative therapies, and I love homeopathic, and I love, because it's just getting back to nature, getting back to our natural self.
And one of the things that I want you listeners to really understand is that because the body is designed to heal itself, all we as practitioners do is assist the body in the healing process. And I want you all to understand that when you go to your doctor for whatever your health problem is, understand that it has to be a two-way street. You got to go to your doctor, not like your doctor is the car mechanic that repairs your car and you say, okay, well, the brakes, is something wrong with the brakes, it's not working. A mechanic automatically knows. But you can't go to your doctor and say, I got this ache in my back and my back is aching, and expect your doctor to know, okay, this is what we do for it. It's a process. That's why when you're talking about dealing with alternative therapists, we have to delve a little deeper into what's going on. And that's why I say the listening, because what we do is about touch. And the reason we use touch as our modality is because touching is the healing element that everybody has. You, as listeners, can heal yourself with the power of touch. And the way I say that is we've got to understand touch is a lot more than just I'm physically touching you. Touch is something that affects us all kind of ways, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and even financially. Touch is the power to healing. And so let me show you how you all have the power to touch in your hands, specifically as it relates to reflexology. In my book that I wrote, Reflexology Today, A Family Affair, it's designed as a self-help guide in using reflexology to relieve pain first, and then integrate it with your modalities or even your conventional practice, how you can use the both. But I say this to say everybody has used reflexology. Everybody has even experienced reflexology. You don't know you have. Think about when you were a child and your parents used to do this, or you as a parent or guardian now have done this to your child. It's called This Little Piggy. And if you remember that, when you are turning the toes, that's where the nerve endings to your head are, in your toes and in your fingers. So as you're doing that, this little piggy went to the market and this little piggy stayed home. What's happening is you're activating the nerve endings. And what happens with the babies? They get happy, or either they just calm down, and some may even go to sleep, but you've stimulated that nerve ending. That's the same concept that you can use today. And the technique that I will share with your audience is, if you can see the palm of my hand,
Yep.
you're going to take your thumb and you're going to do a motion like this.
Actually, if you can raise it a little bit higher, like, yeah,
Okay.
there you go. Yep.
If
There you go.
if you see the palm of the hand, then you take your thumb and do this. What all you got to do is just get in the habit. Whenever you get stressed, wherever you get, like, you're feeling a pain, you don't know where the exact nerve ending is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What you're doing is activating the nerve endings and sending a message from the nerve endings to the brain. We need to calm down. We need to desensitize this pain here. And you can do it at any time. You can just hold your hand this way and just walk the palm of your hand. And that way is a way of stimulating the nervings to do what we normally do. Release the body's natural pain relievers, known as endorphins. And that's what you're working on to relieve pain. When you understand how to work with your practitioner, that's how you get the most effective benefits, because it's a two-way street. As your practitioner is giving and you are receiving, as you give back, your practitioner is receiving. It's a two-way street. It's not one way. And then you are now taking back control of your life from pain, because you are the one that's laying the foundation of how your body can work with you and work with the practitioner in assisting your body to heal itself.
Yes. Thank you for the the example and going through that, because visually it's great to know how we can just do this right now, right? So we can literally start this right now, anytime, and anywhere. And kind of going along with the two-way street, we definitely, everybody should know their own body, because we are the host of our body, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you said, the doctor is there to assist you, to align with you. He or she is not there to be God or be the all-knowing, because they're
Yes.
not living in your body 24/7. So yes, we got to be a little bit smarter when we are going to these appointments. Maybe, a list of, things that you like in the past, what's going on, what happened this past week, kind of, it helps along, right?
Yes.
And it's also an awareness for that person that okay, yeah, this did happen. So maybe that is correlated. And then that's where, again, that two-way street, or that dance, so to speak, it happened. And instead of making it like, I have pain here, okay, doctor, or the doctor was like, okay, here you go on your way. There's no conversation of
Right.
your body, right? There's no
Exactly.
conversation of that.
Exactly.
So amazing, amazing. And you did reference your book. So what I will do is link that up in the show notes. The
Hmm.
other thing that I want to link up is, and if you want to talk a little bit more in depth, you are more than welcome. I know that you referenced a little bit of alternative therapies, but I think you have a website also, or a sheet that, you know, I think it is the download. Yes, a download of all of the alternative therapies that are out there. So do you want to go into any specifics in that sheet, or is it just self-explanatory?
What happened? What? Excuse me. What? Excuse me. What that sheet is, that it's my gift to your audience in
Okay.
terms of being able to recognize that there are alternative therapies available that they can actually select as a form of support in terms of relieving pain and stress in the body. And I broke it down into specific categories, and it's based on mind body connection. And so there are practitioners that focus on each of those categories that are alternatives. And when I say that, these are practitioners who provide hands-on therapy that's a medication-free alternative to using medication. And the reason why that chart it was put together is because when we think about the opiate situation that has affected most of us, which is how that chart came into existence, because I lost a lot of clients and colleagues and family members based on not being able to get the medication, because after a certain period of time, the prescription runs out for your medication, but you still got the pain.
Mhm.
And because you've become addicted to the medication, you can't release the pain. And so what happens is you start looking at all kinds of alternatives. And so then I started thinking, I said, well, we've got to look at how can touch be considered an alternative for meds. And so that's the evolution of what that chart is about, looking at what kind of touching therapies that you can utilize. And even if it may look like where you're looking at it from the standpoint of financially, whether you can afford it, look at going to little workshops that will teach you some basic techniques in terms of what that practitioner does. And you start using that and integrating it, because I find that to be one of the best ways to start moving you in the direction of looking at alternatives, when you can start applying it yourself and seeing the benefits of you being able to do it, in terms of, well, now let me expand this so it can be a little more comprehensive in my whole health regimen.
Right. Yes, that's great. And thank you for sharing the resource. I'll definitely, again, put it in the show notes. But
Thank
yeah, if
you.
you could definitely, I mean, having the ability to do it yourself first, to understand the mechanism, to understand, what's going on, and then yes, broadening it into a little bit more, professional, and just a little bit more advanced, so to speak. So
Hmm.
great, great. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you would like to touch on?
If
Touch, see?
right. Well, I guess one of the things that's topic. Let's talk about touch.
Yeah.
Okay. When I talk about touchology as it relates to reflexology, I gave you a first introduction in terms of the first touching point that I use is listening. Now, we don't do a lot of listening. And listening is something that seems to be very kind of hard for us right now because a lot of stuff is thrown at us. So we don't get a chance to process what we listen to. And so moving from listening, I want your listeners to understand that this is your first step in the healing process is touch. The first step is touch, no matter what. And there are two powerful words that are touching. And those two words are thank you. And thank you are two words that bring about healing. And you don't even know how, but it does. Just being able to say thank you to somebody lifts their energetic level to a whole nother experience. And all you did was give it to them. And that was a healing point for them. Another one is to be able to smile. Just to smile at someone can lift and be a healing tool. Understanding that, because that's something that can be reciprocated, because once you do that, they automatically give it back to you. We've got to understand it and think about when you're driving and all of a sudden it's bumper to bumper traffic and somebody lets you over and all of a sudden you raise your hand in a form to say thank you. You never know how that person feels to say, wow, somebody received me today. Somebody acknowledged me today. These are all tools of healing. And we've got to learn how to get back to that. Because one of the things which I call my unscientific study relates to when we were in the pandemic for those 2.5 years. One of the major thing that was stripped from us was our ability to touch. And when I say that, I'm talking about a lot of families that may have lost loved ones because came from the result of touch. Families not seeing each other, families not feeling each other. These things are very important in the healing process because as people, we are a touching people. We touch, we survive on touch. And we've got to get back into looking at touch as something positive because it is healing and not focus so much on the negative aspects that's presented to us 24/7 about touch. That is creating what is a new health problem that we're dealing with and nobody's thinking about it, is the mental health issue. We're all now in need of mental health and wellness. And that's all because of how we've lost the ability to touch, how we translate touch. And you can see it, it's very evident in our young people. Our young people are starving for touch. That's one of the reasons why you're seeing a lot of the negative disruptiveness in young people is because we are not touching them in any form or fashion. And that has to change if we're going to heal ourselves and heal our nation. It all begins with the power of touch.
I'm just going to let that stay there because that is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can add into it or just weave into what you just said, which is amazingly stated. We think touch as being just physical. Mm-hmm. And to reference COVID, yes, we were isolated way too much. And it does have an effect. And as you know, again, I'm going along with what you said. The kids that were in the pandemic, away from school, away from play, away from all of it, and this isn't a question to you, but I'm just saying, like, what do you think is going to happen when you isolate somebody? And touch is more or less the examples that you gave. Smile, thank you. That's touching to the heart, mind, It's
Yes.
touching.
Yes. Yes.
And when you separate that, it is going to have an effect. It's going to have a snowball effect, and it's going to be in the wrong direction. So
Yes.
I am alongside with you in terms of this. Let's get back to touch. Let's get back to the understanding that we need to be there for each other, regardless of who you are, what you think, what you do. As a human race, we need to heal each other mentally, physically, emotionally. It is not, yeah. And so thank you. I just wanted to, you said it beautifully. I just wanted to kind of weave in some thoughts into that. So beautiful. I was going to ask what your, what any wisdom they can give us, but that right there is wisdom enough. So I truly appreciate you being on this show. This has just been a great conversation. Again, these things that your professionalism, your understanding of getting back to our bodies and our minds and let it heal itself by the power of touch is just so remarkable. And I'm glad you do what you do and paved that way, right? Paved the way. So I'm sure you're just like, yeah, exactly, the pioneer, because when there's a problem, somebody has to, come to the forefront, regardless of, being told no or shunned or whatever. If you have a conviction and really understand that this could heal a population, go for it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
My
thank you so
pleasure.
much.
I just thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to have shared. And the one thing that I can leave for everybody, just understand that the power of touch heals all.
Yes.
Use it.
Amazing. But I'm not going to let you go until you tell people where to find you, because obviously, I know a lot of my audience is going to want to check you out. So where can they find you?
Okay, they can visit my website, which is focusonhealing.com. And I encourage you, when you go to my website, go to the contact page, ask me any questions that you want, and I will get back to you and answer it in terms of, pain, alternatives, whatever. Just contact me through my contact page on my website. I also host a podcast called the Touchology Wellness Experience.com. And I invite you, to come listen. We invite guests to come on and talk about alternative ways to heal, and talk about even heal people who've gone through experiences using alternative approaches and have found healing. And the other thing is if you're interested in a copy of my book, that's also, you can find that on my website, focusonhealing.com. And thank you.
Beautiful. I'll link all of that in the show notes so they can just click and go. So again, thank you so much for being here. And to my audience, until next time, you are worth it.